So this class we are going to discuss about a machine component called CAM. So in this entire semester we were dealing with the kinematics, where we have started with the degrees of freedom of linkages, then how you connect the two linkages which forms pairs. The pairs can be divided into lower pair and higher pairs. So in lower pairs we have essentially concentrated on four-bar mechanism and how to do the synthesis. Then we have done the position analysis, velocity analysis and acceleration analysis. Then our concentration was about the other important machine element which forms in the higher pair. So we have discussed about the gears. Now we are supposed to look at and discuss about a machine component called CAM. So CAM and gears are common in one aspect, that these are mechanisms which employs higher pairs. So the higher pair definition, the two profiles in contact will not have a similar geometry. So they will squeeze out the lubrication. So the higher pairs requires a continuous lubrication. So we have discussed about these two are coming under further classification of direct contact mechanisms. So direct contact mechanism, these two are coming under that. So the similarities we have seen, both are higher pairs, both are direct contact mechanism. But the gears and cams are not the same, they are dissimilar or different in the sense that gears are used for transmission of power, whereas cams are not involved in handling of force or power. So this CAM will not be coming under a category of machines. It will remain as a mechanism only. Okay. So we shall see what is a CAM. If you look at a CAM, there is always another. As I told you, it is a direct contact mechanism. So you can think of some profile like this. This is your center of rotation. So this is your CAM, and there will be something which is attached to here like this. It may be in contact with this, and this is called a follower. So this component is called CAM, this component is called a follower. So CAM and follower, what are the varieties or types of it? What are the important features that we need to take? That's what we are going to discuss using the PowerPoint slide. See, one of the advantage of the CAM and follower is it is a direct contact mechanism, where if you try to draw the effective 4-bar linkage, the linkage length is variable. Okay, so it can be used to designed to have a complex function. So when it is widely used in automotives, especially the IC engines. When IC engine is taught in the school about, say, 4-stroke engine, you would have it will be drawn with a very simple sketch like this, and they would have introduced two valves like this. To explain the working of a 4-stroke engine, the simple sketch of a piston and cylinder and valves will be there. They would explain during the suction stroke, suction valve will open and allow the fuel air mixture in case of petrol engine to get in, and there will be a compression stroke. During the stroke, the suction valve will be closed. Then you will have the spark plug which will ignite the spark. Then during the power stroke, it will come down, and exhaust stroke, during which the exhaust valve will open. At that time, I am sure many of us would not have questioned how these valves are operated. Did you ask? It is the nature. We just take that, we take it granted these valves are open. They are destined to open during suction and close. The exhaust valve is supposed to open during the exhaust stroke and then close it. But how it is happening, we have not asked, and it is not also explained. But if you think about the opening and closing of this valve, you have to also see the speed of operation at which these valves are supposed to work. Like if you take this engine is running at 3000 revolutions per minute, that is the operating speed of this, 3000 revolutions per minute, then it is, in terms of seconds, it is 50 times per second. Per second, there is 50 cycles. If it is definitely valves are used in 4-stroke engines. Therefore, what happens is, once in 2 full rotation, this is to open and close. That is at least 25 times per second, this is to open and close. You just think in 1 second, the valve is supposed to open and close 25 times. So that too with a particular timing. It cannot open on its own or close. It has to open exactly, say, 5 degrees before TDC. You would have done the wall timing diagram in the heat power lab. So you know the sequence at which the valve is supposed to open and close. But this is not open slowly as we described, but it is going to happen, say, in this case of 3, it is about 25 seconds, 25 times per second. Whereas if the engine speed is 6,000, it will be double. So think about engines which are running at 12,000 RPM, etc. The valves are supposed to open and close so quickly, at the same time maintaining the timing with respect to the crank shaft. So how to open and close the valve with exact timing? It is not supposed to open and close. It is supposed to open and keep the valve open for a period, then again close. Keep it in a closed position for some time. So this the operation is possible only with a device called the cam. Okay? So how these valves are opened and closed, if you draw a very simple sketch, so there will be a small lever here, then there will be another rod, then you have a follower and you have a cam. A very simple kinematic sketch. There is a cam and a follower. This follower will push this rod. So this is called the push rod. This one is called a rocker arm. Then dust will push this. There will be a spring here Why the spring? The spring is what keeps the follower and the cam the in contact. Okay, so this is there. So this is driven, it is somehow connected by either a gear or a timing belt, so that the cam and this are running. So if the cam is supposed to run half the speed of the crank, so that in a 4-stroke engine, once in 2 revolution only, these valves are supposed to operate once. So today I can tell you that even though most functions of the IC engines are done electronically, carburetors are removed, the fuel injectors, conventional fuel injectors are removed, so all these fuel injectors opened by electronic means, by a solenoid valve. This timing of a fuel injection opening, everything is determined by the engine control unit. But one operation which is not electrified so far, this valve. If I could make this valve operation by means of an electrical device, electrical solenoid, then the valve timing itself I can program and adjust. So far this is not possible by means of electrical valve, because it has to open and close so quickly that I don't know till that it has been operated by electrical means. Other functions like fuel injection, fuel pump and all these things are done controlled by electrical means, but this is not yet done by electrical means. So now you can realize how fast this cam can work. Okay. So about the cams, I will also, before going further, like to say that there is cams are used in IC engines. If you look at the cams that are used in the railway engines, railway diesel engines, they use cams of a big size. The physical size will be something like this, or this too big. The actual size I can draw, it will be like this. So here this cam, when it is put into use after hours of operation, this the profile will wear out. So what is to be done is to replace this cam or a set of camshaft, which is expensive. So what they used to do is they will use to have one more hard coating here. They will build up the metal which is worn out just to use a welding. So use a welding with the electrodes which are giving a very hard material surface. After that coating, you have to grind this to the required shape. Okay, so that is called refurbishing, or it is called reclamation. So the worn out parts are rebuilt. The material what is removed, that is again rebuilt using the welding or any technique, and then it is ground to the shape, then it is put into back use. So that is called reclamation, which is cheaper than going for a new one. So this reclamation, one of our alumnus from production department took up this job of reclamation. Grinding of this cam requires a cam grinding machine. That is very expensive. So one of our professor, as I would have told you about, Professor C.R. Kandasamy, who is a person, he is a team member who has compiled the data, the PhD data book. What you have is a PhD data book that is used for machine design. He is a person, he is one of the team member. So he worked here as a head of the production engineering department. So he developed one small device that can be attached to a regular lathe. So instead of investing 50 lakhs for the cam grinding machine, he just 1.5 lakh lathe with a little modification, he is able to, grind this profile. So he become highly competitive. So then he started taking orders from the Indian Railway. Okay, so that is, I would say, far ahead of his times. People are now talking about startup companies and all that. So far ahead of his time, he encouraged a student of the production department to take up the job. Then there was a small unit established in the Trek step. So that has grown. Then it has come out of the nursery shed, and there is a company here just in the side of or behind that the State Bank, opposite to our State Bank, the small scale branch, small scale industries branch, just opposite to our campus, there is a company called CS Metal Reclamation. So he now owns that, and he has now promoted himself. He is no longer reclaiming the shaft, he has now developed into making the original or new shafts. So he is into that. He is now a full-fledged manufacturer of camshafts for Indian Railways and other engines, including the defense project. Okay, so that is the story of the cams, how you can make your living or a fortune from the cams. So you have to take up one particular thing and work. Now coming to the cams, you can see that the cam is something which is having a profile, looks odd, but that profile is designed so that the necessary function is achieved with a particular timing. You want to have a rise, dwell, fall, again dwell. Like this, you have to open up, stay this open, it stays open for some time, again it goes back to the original position. Okay, so look at the cams. You have the first one, you have the cam and the follower, and this degrees of freedom is 1. It is a transformed 4-bar linkage. Now you see the follower is in contact with the cam by the means of a spring pressure. If the spring is not there, this will separate. Okay, once the cam pushes to the maximum level, it will separate. So obviously this particular cam and follower is a force closed. So one of the example we can say for a force closed joint is a cam and follower, it is retained by the spring. So here you can see that the effective link, that means the equivalent 4-bar mechanism of a cam and follower, that is drawn there. The effective link lengths are varying. The different position, the link length is varying. So highly versatile functions can be achieved using the cam and follower. This follower, what you see, oscillates. Okay, this motion is an oscillatory motion. So that is why it is oscillating cam and follower. You can also classify, this type of follower. Here you can see that it reciprocates. So it is a linear motion where it is a rotational motion. So that is the cam and follower. This reciprocating thing, the equivalent will be a slider crank mechanism. Okay, so this is one way of, based on the motion of the follower, you can classify that whether it is an oscillatory follower or it is a reciprocating follower. and in both cases they are force closed. Unless there is a spring, it cannot be closed. Even in valves, there is a spring, valve spring, that is keeping the that enables the cam and follower to be in contact all the time. This is a form closed cam and follower. So there will be a groove. So whatever is inside the groove, irrespective of whether there is a spring or not, it will be always retained in position. So here you have a specific thing with a translating follower. The other one is palm closed with the oscillating follower. So there should be a groove, you have to develop a groove. Then we have the next one. It is again a form closed type of a follower, but it is not having any groove. But what they do is they have a two conjugate cams and the followers are two, so it will be always touching. This will be touching this profile and this will be touching the profile. The profiles are designed such that they never lose contact. Okay, there is no groove, but this conjugate cams can keep the contact without any external force. So this is a form closed follower. So if you see what we have devised is a type, oscillatory follower or reciprocating follower. That is one type, whether it is force closed or form closed. So that is another classification we have done. The another classification you can look at it is the type of follower. You can classify based on the type of the follower. The follower can be having a roller, then that's called a roller follower, or it can be like a mushroom or a button, or it can even be a knife edge. It's called a knife edge follower. It is a flat faced follower. It can be flat. There is another classification is whether it is a axial or a radial cam. Axial cam or radial cam. Here, this type of cams are called radial cams. The radial cams in the sense that the motion, this is the axis of rotation of the cam. The motion of the follower is perpendicular. It is in the perpendicular plane to the axis. So this is called radial cam. The motion is radial or perpendicular to the axis of rotation of this. There is always another type of cam where the motion of the follower is parallel to the axis of the cam. So you can see this. So here you can see this cam. This is your cam. It is definitely not a 2D, it is a 3D. The groove is there in that. So this is the follower, and the motion of this is done with in this way. Okay. So this motion is parallel to the axis of rotation of the cam. And there is you can also, the cams are the early form of programmability. It brought in the early programmability for the machines. So there are machines called automats. The automats is something, suppose you take a machining operation. First you have to turn, then you have to thread it, then you have to drill. Suppose I say 3 operations are there for machining one component. You have to first turn, drill, and say thread. These 3 has to be done in a particular sequence. If you employ a human being for that, it is expensive. How to make it automatic? So the motions of these tools are controlled by a set of cams. So these cams, when they rotate, they operate and execute. So these kind of lathes, still it is our existing called automats. They are cheap compared to your electrically driven programmable CNC machines. So that is where you get all kind of small components. For example, small threads. Suppose you take small components used in your cycle valves. All these are done here. The programming, the automation is done by cams. So cams will do the settings. Now you see that the various types of cams. See, this is a roller follower. So the roller follower, for smooth operation, you have to have a bearings inside. So bearing manufacturer themselves gives you the roller follower. Like SKF, they have a product for roller followers. So these are some commercial cams. And the another place where you can see this kind of a cams is your sewing machines, especially when you want to make patterns. Some sewing machines, they have embroidery and other patterns. These are all, done by a smart cams. Now this is a three-dimensional cam. So suppose you want to change the valve timing. So there is a product from Honda, I think Honda City. They have a VVT, variable valve timing. How will you change the timing, valve timing? It cannot be done using your electrical means. It has to be changing the profile of the cam. So the cam profile, you have one radial cam, you say next radial cam like that. So by putting the follower here, you will get one profile, one operation, you just move axially, you get engaged to the other. So you use a three-dimensional cam for such application to get the profiles. So it's called variable valve timing. I think one of your senior batches, maybe I think 3 or 4 batches senior to you, he was fascinated about this variable valve timings. He started working, devoting more time on developing a three-dimensional cams for changing the valve profile. Then he managed to get into Honda. Then later he said that Honda, he got into the this two-wheeler division of Honda. Then he got into the R&D division. Then he was assigned 4 or 5 people to work on this project. So Honda took this itself, its project, and devoted resources to him to come and develop this. Okay, but I don't know the current status, but he was very happy with his employment because his particular work is recognized by the company, and he was allotted resources including money and the people to work then to develop his project. Okay, so that is about the variable valve timing, the 3D cam. Now the other things. Okay, these are all about what is called as the flavors of the cam. What is a cam and how it goes. But we also should look into what is the intricate details of the cam. So if you want to look at the cam, you have to first get the displacement diagram. So in one rotation, what is the displacement? What is the displacement of the follower? So that you have to get it. So if you want to develop or design or say analyze the function of a cam, you should have this diagram. That is called SVAJ diagram. S is the displacement. So in the x-axis you can see it is 360 degrees. So for every degree of the cam, what is the displacement of your follower? Or it could be, if it is an oscillatory follower, the displacement will be in terms of the angular displacement. If it is a reciprocating follower, it will be in terms of millimeter. So that is your displacement. Then you can find out the velocities. Then you can plot what is the acceleration. You can again find the derivative of it and find out the jerk. Okay, so these four things are important for analyzing the cam. So what is found is when the cam and follower rotates, it should not introduce a very high accelerations. When the accelerations are very high, then proportionally force also will be very high, so that will damage the cam and the follower unit. So the contact forces developed will be extremely high. The cam and follower, this thing will fail. So you can see that you can design your cam operation into, say for example 0, 90, 180, 270 and 360. That is the cam rotation angle, that is one full rotation. It can be specified in terms of time also, if you know what is the speed at which it is going to work. Then you can say what is its dwell. Dwell is a period where the cam will be rotating but follower will not move. So that means if you want to keep the valve open, that will happen only during the dwell period. So there is also a mechanisms which can achieve that, called dwell. So definition of a dwell is there is an input motion but output motion is not varied, it is constant. So you have higher dwell, there can be two dwells. Your valve operation, there are two dwells. In the open, it has to kept open for a brief period of time. In a closed position, you have to be kept closed for a brief period of time. So this distance is how much is the valve should open, how many millimeters the valve should open, that is high dwell. Okay, so from this level it should rise and go here, and again from here it should fall, so that it starts over again. So some the terminology of dwell of the cam. So certain cams will have rise, dwell, fall, that's all. They may not be a lower dwell. There are cams which will not have any dwell at all. It will rise, then fall. So depending on your requirement, you can do all these things. So you can think of, what is the easiest way to achieve this, rise. You can simply connect, that is the lower position. Then highest position is there. That can be, displacement can be linearly varying with this time. That is very simple as per the displacement is concerned. But look at what happens. When you look at the velocity, here it is 0, then you have something like this. Look at the acceleration. There are discontinuous points. There is acceleration in specific point shoots up to infinity. So when this shoots up to infinity, what it means is that the force at that particular time will be infinity. If not, it is infinity, is going to be very high. So if you run this cam, you are sure that within a very brief period of time the cam and follower unit will break. Okay, what is supposed to be very simple as per the displacement is concerned, it may not be really simple. So you will see that this cam and follower breaks, and you have to put lot of time to find out this. When you come to this jerk, you see that it goes to minus infinity to plus infinity. So this is not a preferred way of functioning the cam. That is, cam profile should be such that it should follow a law called a cam law. Okay, so fundamental law of cam design. So what is the let me write it so that it is there in the book. So you have a law of cam design. So this you cannot violate in your design of a cam. So whatever be the profile, the cam function must be continuous through the first and the second derivatives of displacement across the entire interval. So that is the fundamental law of cam design. So when you take the displacement, you derive, you find out the differentiation, differentiate it twice, find the derivative of twice. The first and second derivative should be continuous. There cannot be any discontinuities. But the corollary to this is the jerk function must be finite across the entire interval. It can be said in the other way, the jerk function must be finite across the entire interval. That is called the law of cams. So that is to avoid any unnecessary high forces between the cam and follower. One of the things what we can say is that we have discussed earlier also what kind of profile when you differentiate again and again, you will have a differentiation. Is one of the things is the sinusoidal curve. So sinusoidal functions, the trigonometric function, you differentiate any number of times, there will be still a continuous sinusoidal. So that happens to be, looks to be or appears to be a solution, but you can see that there is a sinusoidal varying curve, velocity is like this, then the acceleration is like this, and there is a jerk. So if you look at that particular portion, there is no problem. So you can, it may appear that you can use it, but unfortunately, what happens? So here, if the entire thing 360 degrees is like this, it's not a problem. But there is a, if there is a dwell involved, what will happen is this. You can see that even the sinusoidal thing. I'm sorry, this is not the. This acceleration is not zero at the starting and the end of the period. So during the dwell, it is supposed to be static. So that will introduce a brief break in the function. So if I try to write a mathematical function for the entire profile of the cam, I will not be able to do it because it is made of several piecewise functions. So each domain you have to take a separate function. But between these two, there should be a continuity. So it is not, even though the harmonic profile, like your sinusoidal profile appears to be solution, yes, it is continuous within that period, but at the end it may not be a continuous one. So what is the best way to do is to go for a reverse approach. Reverse approach is, let me have an acceleration which is varying sinusoidally. It should have zero acceleration at the ends. You draw the acceleration first and you integrate it to get what is the velocity and integrate it again to get the displacement. So that is how it is done. It is closely following what is called the cycloidal curve. Okay, so cycloid is preferred. Otherwise, you have to go for your own polynomial curve, so which even after two differentiation, it should be continuous. And not only continuous within that particular domain, but when it crosses over from one to the other, that is from rise to the this thing. So in this also, during the dwell as well as rise, so even this particular portion, it should maintain the continuity. Then only your cam profile, cam operation will be smooth. So that is what you have to look at it. Okay. So I think with this, probably we can close. If you have any questions, you can ask. I given one project, look at this, how you can use it. You can use the cam design in an effective manner is speed breakers. Okay. So if you look at the speed breakers on the road, it is nothing but you have a rise and fall. Okay. So there is a roller follower, that is your wheels of this thing is going above. So this profile, presently what they do is they don't follow any norm or this thing. So whatever it comes to their hand or mind, they'll put all sort of profiles. So ultimately what happens is the passengers of the vehicles are affected. And in one incident recently, about I think 3 or 4 weeks back, one of the Formula 1 driver, I think not Formula 1 or high speed car, I don't know, his name is I think Ashwin, in Chennai. He drove a car along with his wife in the night. Then there was a speed breaker, he didn't notice that. So his car, after hitting the speed breaker, lost control, and very unfortunately that car went across the road and then got in between the gap of a tree and a compound wall. So his car stuck up, he could not come out. The car started, it caught fire. So he and his wife was burnt alive. It was a pathetic this thing. So nobody could help. There was a person, he could not go even closer to that because the intents of fire. So all this, it can be traced back to the non-uniformity of or no standard followed in putting this one. Okay, there is no warning sign. They have a liberty to put this anywhere. Okay, wherever accident happens, like a cemetery, they build one this speed breaker. Okay, between the Paul Pannai to the your market, there is 4 or 5 speed breakers are there. Each one was built by the angry crowd after an accident that took place. It is unfortunate, but you have to put it like this. But whether such a standardization is there in the developed countries, they would think very much about this. I would say no such thing is there because there is no concept of speed breaker in the Western countries. What is a speed breaker there is a sign. If you say 20 kilometers per hour, you have to obey that. People obey it. Are they very honest to obey it? It is not. Because of the hefty fines, they have to, follow the rules. If they are not following the rules, they will be given a ticket, their insurance premium will go up. So lifelong they have to pay some amount. So they follow the rules because of this, the enforcement. Not because they are, very honest. Everybody is honest like that. It is not. But we are not not able to enforce the rules. At least we have to go for a physical barrier. But even then, even though this is not a norm in the developed country, there is a company which has come out with a bump. This is called, in our country we call it as a speed breaker, that is called a bump. So there is the company has come out with an active bump, so which can be switched on or switched off. Suppose you don't feel that, you don't want this to operate, it will become flat. When you want to operate, you switch on, this will arise it will level up and then it will act as a speed breaker. Okay, so that is the way. So like this you can find the places or the problems and try to give solutions. Okay, then only that 2.5 lakhs or whatever 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs of engineers who are not having a job will be able to get a job. Okay, so that is how the potential is, that is how we should move on. Okay.